Okay, so you may have figured out by now, I always start my introductions with a question. Show of hands. Who has equipment that can do Yaesu Fusion? Ooh. Okay. Who has equipment that does D-Star? Not as many. How about like DMR? Even less. How about analog only? No analog only. That is interesting. Okay, so looks like if you add it all up, about half the people in the room have Yaesu Fusion, and can theoretically learn something from tonight. The rest of us will be learning from that as to what we're missing, but that's not the case, is it? Because the other modes do the same kind of stuff, just different. So what we're going to learn tonight is half the story. Next month we'll try to do the other half, the other shoe, and put it all together to get this whole picture of the digital stuff. You may know Bob, our resident celebrity from YouTube fame, and he's going to enlighten us on all things Yaesu. Take it away, Bob.
Thank you. Great to be here. I'll be here Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Okay. How many people here did not know that we put up a fusion repeater on our 440 pair? You didn't know that? Okay. Well, we did. This was kind of a pet project of mine for about the last 5 years or so, and I wanted to do something digital. I originally looked at D-Star because I've been into D-Star for about 10 years. And then through the YouTube thing, I had to learn some other modes. I found Fusion, and I found Fusion to be actually the easiest to use. So, typically, 70 centimeters on our pair, or 440, has been very underutilized. How many people in the last 5 years have used our 440 pair by itself? Show of hands. Not that many. And we've had this pair for more than 20 years, I would say. So anyway, this was a project here. This is a project donated right now, or loaned by Scott, KK7AIR, who's got 2 of these repeaters, loaned us one, kind of on a temporary, semi-permanent basis. It is a Yaesu DR2X repeater. This is it's a dual band repeater. So you pick where you want to go. You program it in on the front panel. It is dead easy. It's so easy I could do it. And I've done it. So, pay pause, no 440. Everybody, turn them down, turn them off. So 440 in this area has traditionally been very underutilized. Past 4 or 5 years, yep, I've been pushing for this digital alternative. We are trying it right now on a 6-month trial basis. So far, we have got a lot of use. I would say almost as much or more use on our 440 side right now than we have on 2 meters. So, on 2 meters. Let's see. Our concerns with this. Number one, we can't interfere with Beal. I don't think we've gotten a letter yet.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Good. We're all good.
Or a phone call either.
Yep. So we wanted to allow our hams and area hams access to digital, but we wanted to retain the ability to quickly switch back to analog That's another thing. Yaesu System Fusion is the fusion part. Well, the digital part is C4FM, which is the straight digital component. The fusion component fuses the digital and analog together. The repeater is capable of running in what's called AMS mode, automatic select mode, and it can either go to the analog side or the digital side, depending upon what kind of equipment you're keying up with. But we have elected to use it in digital only mode because other repeater owners that I've talked to throughout the country have told me that AMS mode creates headaches, and I've seen it where people that don't know how to program their radios real well, their analog radios, they can't program in a receive PL, they hear digital squelch when a digital guy keys up. Digital guys get pissed off because every time an analog guy keys up, it switches their radio back into analog, and then you have to manually switch it back to digital. So we've just elected we're not going to play that game. But we can, and we can put it into AMS mode for things like Tevis and stuff, and use it as the analog repeater. We wanted to avoid excluding groups of hands or fracturing the club by mode. We had to make a decision if we were going to do this. You have to make some kind of a decision and go with something. This was the easiest I felt to implement. Number one, because it was free, and number two, it's the easiest mode as a user to get on. I mean, you buy a Yaesu radio and it is dead easy. So we talked about AMS versus digital. AMS is the it's the auto mode select. Fixed, we have it in fixed mode, so we're not allowing analog entry into the system. And there's a second channel because the DR2 is made up of two FTM 400 radios. FTM 400s are dual band radios with two sides, A and a B side. So we actually have 4 sides in this. So a lot of people were asking Yaesu at first, can I use this as a 2-meter and a 440 repeater? No, you can't do that. But the B channel can be used as kind of a back end. Remember all for umpteen million years, having Richard and Dennis and a few other guys get on there doing the control stuff. They'd announce and they'd say control, and they would do their thing. Now, Clyde and whoever Clyde designates can go on the back channel on the 440 side and do all that kind of stuff. We never hear it on the 440 side. They do it on 2 meters, right?
Well, we're doing another one on the 440.
Okay, so they're doing it on another 440 channel. So, we can do a lot of cool stuff. So, our 440 repeater is 440.575 with a +5 offset. On digital, there is no PL. So you don't have to program in the PL tone. If we switch it back to manual or into AMS, the same PL that we've always used applies. So if you come in through analog, use a PL. If you don't need to worry about it. It does have the ability to do digital equivalent, which is a DGID. And that's kind of the equivalent of a PL tone. But we're not implementing it right now, and we may or may not implement it in the future. Let's see. For the users, for you guys that have Fusion radios right now, you want to set your radio into the DN without the little line on top. So you don't want that little line on top makes it an AMS mode. So when you get a birdie, an analog birdie, it's going to kick your radio back into FM. So take the line off. It's just another press of the wires X button on some of the handhelds, or on the FTM 400, and then the mode button on the FT3 and FT2, and I forget what it is on the FT7.
Yeah, some of the radios use the microphone, the P3 button.
Okay.
You know, like the 3207, the 3200 series, the 7250s, just use mic that sets the wires mode.
Perfect.
It's digital.
Perfect. Let's see, set that, repeater. Okay, our repeater is a standalone repeater. It is not connected to the internet at all. But we have a thing called Wires X, which is the internet component, and it is down at Clyde's house, and he administers it. I have a node, Jeff AK6, okay. He has a node and a repeater. I have a repeater. We've taken it's called a room it's a talk group, an internet talk group, basically. We have taken a talk group that I created. We've got everybody is hooked up to that talk group. So if you come in on the W6EK repeater, you're going out on my repeater. You're going out, that's now located in Loomis. You're going out on Jeff's repeater on 2 meters. So anywhere in the Sacramento area that you are, you can get into this system and you could talk to our repeater and anybody who's connected to it, either on RF or on a little thing called a hotspot. And you guys might have seen my little hotspot here. This is the OpenSpot 3. And right now this is connected up to our repeater on my DMR radio. And so I could talk on Fusion from the DMR radio. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But, let's see. So the internet component is RF. So you are still playing ham radio. You're not just talking to your box to there and talking to his box to him. You're going through and you're talking to repeaters, and you could be talking to somebody who doesn't have any access to the internet where they are. If I'm in the car mobile, I have usually no internet access with me. So I talk to the repeater. Then the repeater will talk to the other repeaters and to the hotspots that are connected. It's very, very cool. And we'll talk about a little bit about that in a minute. And let's see. And we'll get into the Wires X. The Wires X, like I said, this is the digital or the internet component of it. And this is what links repeaters and users together. So you can have a node without having a repeater. You can own your own Wires X node. You can have your own room. You could do it all at home. You need a Windows computer, and you need this box called an HRI 200 and another dedicated Fusion radio, either an FTM 100 or 400 preferably, but now you can use some handhelds connected with wires. It is separate from Fusion. Fusion is the RF component, standalone C4 FM married with analog. Wires X is a program that is owned and operated by Yaesu. They control it, they own it, they could kick people off, they could add people, and actually they have to add you if you want to become a node. So you have to apply to them and they will add you. Let's see, add-on feature, and there are thousands upon thousands of users Wires X, and there's a ton of talk groups. Some of them are very, very large. Some are very small. Some are, like 1 or 2. We normally have 3 or 4 hooked up together. So it's very, very cool. The requirements for Wires X are a Windows computer, nominally a dedicated Windows computer, a dedicated Fusion radio like the 100 or 400, and that means that you can't use that radio to get on 2 meters or anything and talk. That radio, for all intents and purposes, goes away. That becomes kind of like your own mini repeater. And the HRI 200. Let's see. Now we get to the interesting part. This is the part if you can't hit one of the connected repeaters, it can get you out into the Wires X world. You want to have a hotspot to get in. Dennis lives in kind of a RF little hole. He's close to the repeater, but for whatever reason, he can't hit it from his house. So Dennis has an open spot like that, and he gets in through, it's called the FCS room. This is my room. I call it YouTubers, because I didn't want to make a location-based, I wanted an interest-based kind of a place to go. He gets a little bit of national and international traffic, which is cool, because there's guys from our club who are making contacts with guys in Europe and all over the world, which is kind of cool. It is not affiliated with Wires X. It doesn't touch Wires X. It can't get in and interface with Wires X. Totally separate. So I created a room on Wires X called YouTubers. Stands out over here. Somebody else created the same room on FCS, and there's FCS and YSF. And I don't want to go too far into the weeds here. So, is anybody's eyes rolling back in the back of their head already? Yeah? Okay. I need to stop. Let's just say some of these FCS rooms, or the internet rooms, are duplicates of a Wires X room, and then that little box up there on the picture is another old open spot that I have, and I repurposed it and reprogrammed it, and now it is a gateway, and when my Wires X node gets triggered, either incoming or outgoing traffic, that gets triggered, and they talk to each other. Okay. So, our connected systems at the moment. W6EK440, standalone Fusion repeater. The W6EK Wires X node, which is linked to our repeater, our W6EK repeater. Then there's K6IOK 2 meter. That is AMS, so you could get into that one on analog, but it won't go out on digital. The digital guys won't hear you. K6IOK also has a Wires X node, RF link to his office from Auburn to Rockland, Auburn to Roseville, and then the K6UDA 440 repeater, standalone Fusion repeater, also has the YouTubers. I'm hosting the YouTubers RF, or the node, my node, Penryn to Loomis. And then I also host the FCS room that allows access to hotspots. And I'll get to where that becomes important and very cool in just a second. And this is really how it works. This is everybody's kind of connected through RF somewhere. Except the network is the internet. And so you've got the gateway connected to the internet, the nodes are connected to the internet, the repeaters are RF only. And the repeaters can talk to each other. Well, no, they don't talk to each other, they talk to their nodes. The nodes talk to each other, rebroadcast out to all the repeaters. Simple? Yes. Okay, and why not AMS? We already kind of talked about that, so I'm just gonna get through that. Most bang for getting or most bang for the buck? Okay. Fusion is the easiest to get on to. There's now several, 2 years ago there was almost no digital repeaters in this area. Nothing. There was one D-Star repeater in Folsom, and that was it. Now we've got 4 or 5 repeaters, Fusion repeaters in the area. There's a Fusion repeater up in Gold Run. K6 SUB Ken up there runs that one. We've got ours right now. Scott has another repeater that he's going to put up in Georgetown. So we're going to be linked. Basically, the plan is to link Placer County all the way through. So it doesn't matter where you are in Placer County. You'll be able to talk back to the group here and beyond. And that's where Wires X came in, but we've also added the YSF, or the FCS, and there's another thing called YSF. They're 2 outside open source groups that we've basically hacked our way into Wires X. And let's see. Okay. Yaesu, they want to keep Wires X closed, their own closed loop system, like Apple, but we're hams. We don't do that. So people have hacked their way in and figured out ways to do that, to rebroadcast things, and that's what my little extra open spot does. Let's see. YSF, okay. One of the things that we are going to do, let's see. I don't get you into Wires X. Okay, yeah. The FCS and YSF networks, they don't get into Wires X. That is not Wires X. But you could see it on the radio. You're still talking on FCS, but ask Dennis. Dennis says, I don't think it's ever been on Wires X.
Haven't had to.
But is it transparent?
I can't tell the difference between the two, really.
And that's the thing. You can't tell the difference in reality. It's super transparent. They're all separate systems, and they all do their own separate rooms, but we're forcing them together. Now, not all of Wires X rooms have an equivalent over on the FCS or YSF side. Some of the big reflector systems do, like America's Link. It's the largest room on Wires X and the busiest. That's the place where everybody goes, is America's Link. But somebody created an America Link on YSF, and somebody created an America Link on FCS, and they use the little hotspots to retransmit that into the Wires X node, and everything works. And so now you've got bazillions of people getting into that room, and it shows when you get in there. Let's see. We'll keep going. The YouTubers room gets retransmitted to the hotspots. A dedicated hotspot connected to the YouTubers is set up to transmit and receive. That was a little blue box. And forgive me because I need to reorganize this for presentation. Let's see, the transmission from the gateway is received by the node radio and retransmitted into Wires X at the same time. One triggers the other, and then it gets broadcast out over the repeater. And the nodes that are, the 2 or 3 nodes that are connected to it, they're getting that traffic now from the open spot and the host node, YouTubers, and retransmitting it to the other nodes. The other nodes in turn are retransmitting that information back out to those other repeaters. And it all comes out almost the same time. There's a little bit of lag. So that's how we open the system up, and here is kind of that flow chart. We've got wires X, has a wired connection to a computer, that then has a LAN connection to the internet, and an RF connection to the repeater, and the FCS link has an RF connection to the repeater and the internet. And that's how it works. And here's our video. I'm going to show you guys now. Here's the other thing. How many guys have Fusion radios? An FTM 400, a 100, or a handheld? So we got a fair amount of guys in here. The little wires X button that you see on the radio, you do not need to push that button to use wires X. That button is strictly here for this purpose, and that is navigation. If you want to switch rooms, if you're on a repeater, a wires X enabled repeater, and you want to switch the room to, say, AmericaLink or something else, this is what you do. What you do, you press and hold the wires X button, it puts it into the VFO mode. It's now going to bring up the menu. And right now, that one's hooked up to the K6UDA repeater. There's 4 nodes hooked up to YouTubers at that time. Now, you hit the search button, and you can either hit all, which is going to bring up all rooms, or I have some bookmarked rooms. Here's my bookmarked rooms that'll come up. And you can see AmericaLink, 107 nodes that are hooked up, plus a YSF and an FCS reflector that can have 1,500 people per those nodes a piece. And then it just kind of goes down from there. And this is kind of a list of all of them. And you could press any one of those and it'll connect that node that you're on or that you're connected to. It'll break the link from YouTubers and connect up to one of those rooms. And there's rooms all over the world. Most of them have no interest for almost anybody except a small group of people. Now, okay, a little bit about etiquette. It's almost the same thing as analog. We want to be nice and kind and considerate to each other. But we want to leave a little bit of extra space. All you guys that like to quick key that thing, and man, you're talking and it's like bang, bang, bang. You guys are fast, very, very fast. Slow up, give it some space, and then after you key up, you want to let it sit there for a second. Just take, a 1001 before you start talking. Because the system, all that digital stuff, needs time to catch up. So you don't cut yourself off on the front end. If you are going to disconnect from, and this is mainly on our system, if you are going to disconnect the W6EK repeater from its current home on YouTubers, or in the future, where we've created a room, or Clyde's created a room called Sierra NorCal.
Right.
And the plan is to possibly move that traffic over to Sierra NorCal instead of YouTubers, and try to make that a a regional kind of a thing and keep the links going. So anyway, if you are going to break from that room, and anybody's welcome to do it, well, the thing is you don't want to take all, if Bill, if you break from the YouTuber's room right now, and you want to go hear AmericaLink, and you want to go hear all that traffic on AmericaLink and maybe make a few contacts, well, we don't want all that traffic going out over 3 different repeaters. You're using 1 repeater. So that's why we want to break that link, and we don't want to rebroadcast it through the open spots either, because that's a whole other thing. And that's an issue that we're working out on the repeater group. But when you're done, please get off, break that link yourself, because we don't want to hear, guys in Minnesota or whatever, talking to each other and having a million QSOs. It's like a pileup, like a constant pileup on some of these big rooms and reflectors. So disconnect from it. You don't even have to try to reconnect to YouTubers or NorCal. It will automatically do that after a few minutes. But try to do that. And let's see.
As far as etiquette, it's always good if you are going to take the system off to another room to let people on the repeater know
Yes.
that you are going to take the system to another room. Have fun, play on the other room, but when you're done, I heard the saying, when you're done, put the toilet seat back down.
Yeah, a good analogy. Yes, before you take the system offline, it's a good idea to say, hey, this is K6UDA. I want to break the link and take the system, and go to some other room. And just ask, is anybody using the system right now? Because there might be a QSO happening, or there might be something that's going on that's local. So that's a great idea. Yes, thank you for reminding me.
Hey, Bob,
I didn't put that in.
I've got 2 questions.
Okay.
How do you physically do that? I haven't done that right. I don't think I want to.
Okay, from the FCS side, you don't have the ability
Yes,
to do that. Now,
yes, he does.
well, no, he has the ability to take his open spot and go to any room that's on the FCS or YSF system.
Right.
Those rooms don't necessarily touch anything on Wires X.
Okay, good.
So that's one-on-one,
Second question.
okay?
When I turn my radio off, it disconnects automatically, doesn't it? Or is the hotspot still safe?
Hotspot's still on.
Okay.
So that's why your hotspot is like a little mini repeater.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. What am I doing here? Okay, we have an upcoming training, March 14th. This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing mobile C4FM, HTC 4FM, Wires X, and we'll have, and this is going to be small groups at tables with, somebody who kind of knows what they're doing. So it's a great opportunity. If you have equipment that you don't know how to use, come in and do that and learn. There'll be some light snacks and coffee. And then we're going to have another one on the 21st at our Ham Fest. Now I just want to show you guys, does anybody have a Fusion radio up that's on our frequency? Okay, so what I have here, this is a DMR radio, and this is the cool thing about the Open Spot 3, is this thing does cross-moding. And so I could take a DMR radio and cross-mode it over to Fusion or D-Star or whatever. I could take a D-Star radio and I can cross-mode it over to Fusion And so it doesn't now matter if you have one of these and you've got a D74 or you have a DMR radio that you picked up for $80 and you don't want to spend $300 on a Fusion radio. K6UDA on Fusion. Okay, so what I just did is I just went through my open spot, it translated into Fusion, and it just retransmitted on our repeater.
But it went from the open spot through the internet
Through the internet.
to what?
It went from the open spot to the internet, went to the FCS box in my house, and got retransmitted back out to the repeater.
On RF.
It went to the K6UDA repeater on RF. It is also being retransmitted to W6EK. And that's how it all works. Please come to the training if you want to learn any more. And I think that's it. Thank you for sitting through this.
Okay, bottom line is radio to radio through the repeater works just as it always is. If you want to take it beyond that, that's where wires X and the other modes connect you to the outside world and to other repeaters. So it's nothing, no smoke and mirrors. It really does work, and some of us are on it every day. It's a lot of fun.
Brian?
Yes.
You want to tell everybody about, what we did in Quartzsite?
The neat thing was when, right now, Jerry, WA6E, it's a couple times a day, he's coming on the repeater, he's talking to Dennis, Bob, myself, Burton, and here's a guy, he's down in Lake Havasu City, just traveling around. When Bob,
Like I say, Burton's in Bodega Bay right now, and I talked to him just like he was in Auburn before the meeting.
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah, he came out of our repeater like he was right here in Auburn. With Fusion and open spot.
and Jerry basically said what he absolutely loves about it is, he's in his rig in another state, and he's keeping in touch with his club.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to pick up his smartphone to, use Echolink or anything else. He just picks up his radio like he always did. He comes through one of the hot spots, through the internet, comes out on our repeater. Completely seamless to the users on each side.
It is. And what's really cool on the Fusion radio, when you're listening to somebody, it will tell you how far away and what direction they're in.
Yeah.
So,
Like I was watching KK7AIR fly in today, and watching his mileage, trying to estimate how many miles an hour he's flying.
Yeah, Scott he'll do aeronautical mode, and that's something you want to log anyway. But he does this all the time. He gets on our Fusion repeater, and he will talk to us all the way. He was in
LA.
LA talking to us on our repeater from his airplane, which is really, really cool. He does this all the time when he goes to Carson City. He'll get on my repeater, and I'll talk to him on my repeater all the way to Carson City. Aeronautical mode.
Okay, so mark your calendars, March 14th. This will be your opportunity to take the glaze off of your eyeballs and actually get to touch the radios and see how they work and if you enjoy it or not. So it's under a test right now, and we're going to solicit your feedback and see if it's something that is going to stay around. So thank you very much, Bob. Appreciate it.